All right. Shalom, family. It's your brother Kanaiba coming at you once again with this video titled California, Another Ritual. Okay. So for those of you who actually have a spiritual eye, you should already see where I'm going with this particular thumbnail. Okay. This year, 2025, the state of California, okay, particularly Los Angeles, has been going through one big ritual this year. Now, again, this is just my critique. I could be wrong, but this is how I see it. Okay, there's one big ritual that's going on in California. Okay, and they are playing out Saturnian principles. And you're going to clearly see what I mean once we get into the video. Okay, everything that has transpired from the start of this year, 2025, has been the beginning of a ritual in that state. And they're going to use this ritual. And this is just my critique, but I believe they're going to use this ritual, opposing energies, to actually push their own agenda or to enforce some type of order that they want to place on the people. Okay, so let me stop rambling. Okay, let me actually prove what I'm saying. Okay, and lay out the premise. All right. So now let's get into it. Okay. So let's go back. Let's go back to the beginning of this year in January, and let's see what was going on with California. Okay. So this is a quick Google search, Wikipedia search on what was going on with California. And it reads, it says from January 7th to the 31st, 2025, a series of 14 destructive wildfires affected the Los Angeles metropolitan area and San Diego County in California, United States. The fires were exacerbated by drought conditions, low humidity, a buildup of vegetation from the previous winter, and hurricane-force Santa Ana winds. It says, which in some places reached 100 miles per hour, 160 kilometers. It says the wildfires killed at least 30 people, forced more than 200,000 to evacuate, destroyed more than 18,000 homes and structures, and burned over 57,000 acres of land in total. Okay. So in January, what major event happened with California? It was these wildfires. Okay. Fire hit California. Now, mind you, these fires hit in the month of January. January is basically the dead of winter. Okay. So January represents what? The cold or ice. Fires hit California in the ice month, in January, winter. Do you see that? That's fire and ice. That's why I said starting at the beginning of this year, California was basically being put through a ritual. Okay, playing out Saturnian principles, fire and ice, opposing energies. Okay, now, if that's not enough to prove that what I'm saying is correct, now what we're going to do is we're going to fast forward to today, this month. Let's see what was going on. Okay, watch this. So let's look at what was going on this month. It says on June 6th, 2025, protests erupted in Los Angeles after Immigration and Customs Enforcement, aka ICE, agents raided several city locations to arrest individuals allegedly involved in illegal immigration to the United States. Some protests have turned into riots after protesters clashed with the Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD, and ICE. But most have remained peaceful and occurred within a roughly 5-block stretch of downtown Los Angeles. Okay. So starting on June 6th, what happened? You had basically was the start of riots because of whom? Because of ICE agents. So let's recap. Back in January, which is winter, the cold, you had fires in Los Angeles, California. Fast forward to today in June, which we're going into summer, which represents the hot fire, you have ICE agents that sparked riots. So in June, this is another fire and ice. Again, I told you what's going on with California. Los Angeles, California. This is one big ritual that started back in January. Okay, they have plans for California. Los Angeles, California. They have plans for this place. Okay. These riots represent what? Opposing energies. Okay. The people, the protesters versus the government. Opposing energies. Saturnian principles. Fire and ice. Okay. That's why this whole year kicked off with the fires in California in the dead of winter. Fire and ice. Now we're basically going into summer with the ICE agents popping things off. Fire and ice. Okay. And mind you, again, the summer solstice is right around the corner. Okay. Which again, they believe heavily in these things on the left-hand side. Okay. But again, this is one big ritual. Now, to put the icing on the cake, what happened the very next day, June 7th? You had the National Guard. 2,000 members of the National Guard was deployed to Los Angeles because of what the ICE agents created, the riots. Correct? When was the last time something of a similar magnitude happened in Los Angeles? To prove that this is a ritual. Let's go back. Let's go back and let's go back in time and let's look at the next slide. Watch this. So, the 1992 Los Angeles riots, okay, also called the South Central riots, Rodney King riots, or the 1992 Los Angeles uprising, were a series of riots and civil disturbances that occurred in Los Angeles County, California, United States during April and May of 1992. Unrest began in South Central Los Angeles on April 29th after a jury acquitted 4 officers of the Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD, charged with using excessive force in the arrest and beating of Rodney King. The incident had been videotaped by George Holliday, who was a bystander to the incident and was heavily broadcast in various news and media outlets. Now, a couple of things I want to touch on here. Okay. So the last time something of this magnitude really happened in LA was back in 1992, dealing with the Rodney King situation. Okay. Now, before I really hammer it on home, pay attention to something here. The person that actually videotaped and recorded the whole incident that happened with Rodney King, his name was George. Okay. Now, fast forward to more recently, what was the whole thing with the George Floyd situation? People just stood by idly recording what the police was doing to George. But in the Rodney King situation, it was a George that was doing the videotaping. You can't make this up. Okay, this whole world is a stage. I'll just leave that at that. But but again, the last time something of this magnitude happened, really, in Los Angeles was going back to the Rodney King situation. Now, let's see what transpired from those 4 police officers being acquitted for basically beating him. Let's go to the next slide. And it reads, it says the rioting took place in several areas in the Los Angeles metropolitan area as thousands of people rioted over 6 days following the verdict's announcement. Widespread looting, assault, and arson occurred during the riots, which local police forces had difficulty controlling. Now watch this. The situation in the Los Angeles area was resolved after the California National Guard, United States military, and several law enforcement agencies deployed more than 10,000 of their armed responders to assist in ending the violence and unrest. Does this not almost sound identical to what we're seeing in Los Angeles today? You had the National Guard deployed to LA on June the 7th, correct? Then on June the 9th, you had the Marines that was actually deployed there because of the quote unquote civil unrest, the riots. Okay, so again, the last time something similar like this happened in LA was back in 1992. Now, some of you may say, oh, well, okay, I get that, but you still haven't quite hammered it on home esoterically. Well, okay. Let's do some math, shall we? From 1992, which is when what happened, the Rodney King situation, from 1992 to 2025 is a sum total of 33 years. Checkmate. Okay, we know that number 33 is one of the most prominent numbers on the left-hand side. Okay, that number 33 represents what? Enlightenment, Christ consciousness. And it also represents sacrifice. That is a very, very important number on the left-hand side, which I've talked about in numerous videos I've done in the past. So the fact that the Rodney King situation, which was in LA, which is similar to what we're seeing today in LA with the riots and the ICE agents, the fact that both situations happened 33 years apart from one another, that speaks volumes. Okay, so moving forward, in this slide we have esoteric dates, okay, dealing with that particular weekend's what with the situation with the ICE agents. Okay. Now we know it started on June 6th, which is what? 6-6. The number 66 represents Molech. Okay. If you type the name Molech in the gematria calculator, it comes out to a sum total of 66. Then I believe in the reverse is actually 96, which is very telling. But moving forward, the date, the very next day, June 7th, 6-7. That's when the National Guard was deployed, correct? The number 67, which is 76 in reverse, represents what? Saturn. Okay. And mind you, June 7th this year was on Saturday, which is for Saturn. Okay. So, of course, they had to do something on that day. Okay. Too esoteric. Then moving forward, the next significant date was on that Monday, June the 9th, 6-9. Okay. The number 69 represents the Hermetic principle, as above, so below. Okay. And what specifically took place on that day? What major event? Okay. On that particular day, that's when the Marines were deployed to Los Angeles. And that very same day, that's when the BET Awards took place. More on that in a minute. Okay. But these are some of the esoteric dates that you have to take notice of. All right. So let's move forward. So now we're going to do a bit more math. Okay. Now this whole thing popped off. The second part of the ritual popped off on June the 6th, 2025. Now, when you look at this sequence of numbers and you add it all the way up, June 6th or 6-6-2025, 6 plus 6 plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 equals 21. Now, as we see here, 21 is code for 777. Now, why is that? Well, it's obvious. 7 plus 7 plus 7 equals 21. So 21 is code for 777. Okay. Now the number 777 equals order out of chaos. And this is why all this had to pop off on this particular date. Simply going into order out of chaos. Okay. And that's what we're seeing. That's why I said this particular ritual. And this is just my critique, but this particular ritual, they're going to use opposing energies. Okay, opposing energies, that's your chaos, to bring order, some type of order that they want to enforce on the populace. Now, what specifically is that order? We have yet to find that out. We don't really know for certain. But I would be surprised if nothing really comes of these riots. Okay. Now, to really put the icing on the cake, to really prove that that's what this is code for, all this is going back to 777, order out of chaos. Okay. Again, that whole weekend from that Friday to that Monday was what? June 9th. What took place? All of this is connected. What took place in Los Angeles? Let's take a look. It was, in fact, the 2025 BET Awards. Now, again, why is this important? How does this tie into that date that is code for 777, order out of chaos? Well, just look at where the BET Awards took place at. Look at this promotional poster. It took place at the Peacock Theater. And look at the address. 777 Chick-Hearn Court, Los Angeles, California, 90015. Okay. So, the address number of the Peacock Theater where the BET Awards was held, the address number is 777. Okay. And to further prove that, because some of you may be thinking, well, this could be a bogus poster. Somebody could have created this. Let's just do a quick Google search. Let's take a look here. And this is what we have. 777 Chick-Hearn Court, Los Angeles, California, 90015. Look at that. Peacock Theater. So this is indeed the legit address of the Peacock Theater. The address number is what? 777. The BET Awards took place in the midst of all of this happening in Los Angeles. It took place at the BET Awards took place in Los Angeles at the Peacock Theater, which the address is 777. That represents order out of chaos, because all of this is scripted. They know that everything that's happening in Los Angeles is going to create order out of chaos. Okay. The BET Awards is part of the script. Now, again, to show you that I'm not reaching, it's no cap. Okay. Let's look up some information that I've used in plenty videos about the number 7. Let's go to the article. Watch this. So again, I've used this article many a times, but this time we're going to deal with the number 777. Okay. And it reads, the number 777, order out of chaos. Again, could be a reference to another book by Aleister Crowley, book 777. So even that number is associated with Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley, he represents that Thalima represents order out of chaos. Okay, not to get too far off topic, but that's why when you go back to 2009, the music video that Jay-Z put out along with Rihanna and Kanye West, Run This Town, that whole video was showing us order out of chaos. Run This Town was in reference to a new world order. Order out of chaos. That's why on Jay-Z's hoodie, it read, do as thou wilt. That's one of the tenets of Aleister Crowley. Okay, 777, order out of chaos. Okay, but now let's move forward. Let's get some more info. All right, so the article continues and it reads, however, most believe it is code for order out of chaos, which is 777 in Jewish gematria, and which is an important motto for the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, Ordo ab Chao. Okay, so even this number even goes into Freemasonry. Okay, and going back to the Jay-Z example, we know he's a high-level Mason. Okay, supposedly, right? So now, in the Jewish gematria calculator, it comes out to the word order out of chaos. That phrase comes out to 777. We see it at the bottom of the screen there. Okay, so again, going back to the BET Awards, that's why it was held at the Peacock Theater, in which the address number is 777. That represents order out of chaos, because that's a part of the script. They're subliminally letting us know that everything that's happening in LA is going to create order out of chaos. Okay, that's why I said this is one big ritual that's going on with California that really started at the beginning of this year in January. Okay, this is a whole fire and ice ritual. Saturnian principles, opposing energies. The opposing energies, that's your chaos. That's gonna cause them to enforce some type of order that we'll probably see in the near future. Okay? But anyway, that's going to bring us to the end of this video. And again, the title of the video is California, Another Ritual. So again, I laid out the premise, to basically prove why I'm saying what I'm saying. Okay, starting with the beginning of this year, California has really just been going through a whole really Saturnian ritual. Okay, it started with the fires that happened in January in California. Okay, the fires that happened in the wintertime, fire and ice. Then it's continuing this month with us going into summer that represents fire with the ICE agents. Okay, basically arresting who they assume to be illegal immigrants. That's your ICE agents. They're doing this towards the summertime. That's your fire and ice here in June. Again, dealing with California. Okay, that's your opposing energies that's going to create the chaos. Okay, that chaos that they need to implement some type of order that I truly believe we're going to see in the near future. Okay, and again, this is just my critique. I could be wrong, but that's the way I see it. Okay, so with that, and as always, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High Yahweh, which is the name of the Heavenly Father, and I do so by Hashem, which means in the name of Yahweh Shai, which is the name of the only begotten Son of the Heavenly Father, whom the world knows as Jesus Christ. And I want to thank all you brothers and sisters for tuning in. I hope this video was informative and edifying. And until next time, Shalom, family.